Welcome back, horror fans, to the Week in Horror podcast. This week we're covering November 1st through November 7th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm JL, and with us tonight is Angela, and as always, Eugene.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
What's up, everybody?
Awesome. Oh, man. Well, October is over. We are past Halloween and getting into Turkey Month, but that does not mean that there will be an end to the horror, because even Thanksgiving has horror movies. So, but something really, really cool that I wanted to let all of our listeners know about. We have something very, very neat that we are giving away. I was able to land a copy of Trivia Pursuit, the Ultimate Horror Edition.
Nice.
So cool.
It's freaking amazing. So I've got it sitting here beside me. We're going to give this thing away. We are kicking off November with a giveaway. So this big badass game, we are going to give this away to someone. All you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe on this video when it hits on YouTube. So you guys will hear it on all the podcast sites. You'll hear it first there, but it will drop on Wednesday, November 4th. This will drop on Wednesday, November 4th.
Wow, that is...
on YouTube. So all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe, and you will be entered to win a copy of the Trivia Pursuit Ultimate Horror Edition. It's freaking badass. I've looked at it. It looks cool as hell. So I'm looking forward to giving that away to one of our lucky listeners.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
That's going to be amazing. They're going to have so much fun playing that.
Absolutely. Looks really, really cool in the box.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I got lucky when I happened to land a copy of it, so hopefully someone will dig the hell out of that one. I'm going to probably have to pick up another copy for myself, because it looks cool as shit, and I'll probably school everybody at it.
Yeah,
That's what I'm surprised that you're actually giving it away. You're just like, oh, this would just be neat. Put it up on a shelf.
I was tempted. Don't think I wasn't.
Still is tempted.
Still is.
So that's what. So subscribe, like, and comment to make sure that you get that giveaway before JL decides to keep it for himself.
Right. It's so easy to do. Just hop on there and do it.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, before I change my mind.
Before he changes his mind, because he'll be like,
yes.
Can I get a bot in there to do it? Or
So before we kick everything off, before we we jump into the movies that we've selected tonight, how are you guys doing? Because we're this whole situation, we're all either on lockdown or we're stuck wherever we are, and Halloween kind of sucked this year because nobody could go out. What are you guys up to? I know, Eugene, you just finished a 48-hour up in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, so I just finished a shoot up in Oklahoma that went really well. Definitely a really good film that we got out of it. And then on top of that, and then I actually watched a horror movie last night that I never even heard of, because I love cheesy horror movies. So I was like, let's find a cheesy bad movie, and it was called You Can't Kill Stephen King.
I have heard of that one.
I have too.
Boy, it's a movie. It meets the qualifications of it being a movie.
Well, judging by the trailer, yeah, I could definitely say that it's a movie. as we like to say here at Week in Horror, they got it in the can.
Good for them.
Yes, they got it in the can.
And they somehow got distribution, so there's that.
They say they somehow it made it to my screen, so they did something right.
Was it as cheesy as you were hoping?
Oh, it was cheesy and more.
Cheesy plus. Okay.
Nice.
It was awesome. Basically, anybody who made noise. So it's a town that Stephen King lives in, and all the residents are afraid of making noise and disturbing him while he writes. So they kill people who make noise.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
So think of it as A Quiet Place minus the good production, the story, acting, set locations, camera work.
Well, here's the question.
So the quiet part.
Does Stephen King even show up in the movie?
Oh, no, of course not.
Oh,
well.
okay. Of course not. Why would he?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like no, you have like a masked killer, and at some point his glasses that look like Stephen King's glasses fall off and break, hinting that it's Stephen King, but no, he's not in it.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, so watched that last night. That was interesting.
Sweet.
Nice.
And Angela, I know this is your second time hosting on the show, and thank you so much for covering for Alex. Alex got called down to Austin to deal with some family emergency, so he had to leave early. He'll also be gone next week. Johnny O will be helping us out. He'll be making an appearance on the show, which would be really, really cool to have him back for, I think, like his 6th time. But Angela, what have you got going on? I think that you, like myself, we kind of as a couple, we have forayed into the world of I would say I made a podcast, and I think you're firing up a YouTube channel, or you're getting it set up.
Yeah, I'm getting it set up. That's something I'm kind of dabbling with, and just kind of figuring out what exactly I want to do before I take the huge plunge. I mean, I've fallen through a lot of YouTube holes, so I'm well versed in that. But
YouTube is a prairie dog field. Yes,
it is. Whoop! And how did I end up over here? Okay, well, here I am.
You go from like cat videos to all of a sudden it's like, here's people lighting themselves on fire, and you're just like, how did I get here? Why?
So like, how did I go from that?
and then you try to escape, and you wind up at flat Earth.
Oh. Oh, no, I ended up watching a bunch of Neil deGrasse Tyson, so.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Well, sweet. Well, whatever you come up with, we will be sure to let our listeners know what you've got going on. Whatever you decide to pursue in that, there's obviously many things that you can do on YouTube. I myself, I have my own little channel where I, talk about my, where I basically, I debate and debunk woo believers and other silly nonsense like flat Earth and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing what you come up with.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, so Angela, we're here to talk about movies. So, what do we have up first?
All right, up first, we've got Hell House LLC. Okay, it's written and directed by Stephen Cognetti. Starring Gore Abrams, Alice Bach, Danny Bellini. It's basically a documentary style movie that is talking about an unexplained malfunction that caused the death of like 15 tour goers on this haunted house. So basically, it tells the story of how the Hell House crew bought this motel that was like foreclosed and all jacked up and everything like that. And they were like, this is going to make an awesome haunted house. Most of the work was done for us. And, well, they ended up buying the one that was already haunted. So I guess they did get their money's worth.
The house does all the work for them.
I know, plus some.
And this came out in 2016, which is really, really interesting because I think it was about, I would say the late 2000s that we started seeing kind of an uptick in the kind of extreme haunted houses. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, the ones that you have to sign waivers and like in the tiny print it's like may include light torture, and you're like, what exactly is light torture? Like, what is that? Like, are you going to gently waterboard me? Like, what is happening?
The answer is yes.
I mean, probably.
Yeah, they actually have. So they started coming up with these like hardcore horror houses, and some of these have gotten to the point where it's like you have one of them, and it's McCamey Manor, and you have to sign a 40-page waiver. 40 and pages? You have to have a physical from a doctor.
Oh crap!
And you have to actually do a video interview, because they only let so many people in every year, and there's more than 24,000 people on a waiting list. So they handpick everybody to go into it. And the house itself, it lasts about 8 hours. And out of everybody they've done, they've been doing this for the past, let's say it's like 10 years, no one has ever made it 8 hours.
I've actually heard about this thing, and well, it sounds extreme. It really does. And I've heard some tales of some of the some people have related what they've encountered going into this particular haunted house. But I have actually heard that within the contract and the waiver that you sign in it, that it technically that I think you have to last a minimum of 8 hours. But it could go. You pretty much have to be in there until it ends.
Oh, so it could just keep going.
And so it does just keep going and going and going, and until eventually it forces you to quit. And so there have been people who have actually made it, but then they've turned around and then they've claimed, because you remember the waiver is like 40 pages long, they've claimed that they somehow violated the waiver or violated the contract in some way, and like they accidentally touched one of the actors, because you're not allowed to make any contact with the actors at all, and they'll just and then that'll void the whole thing, and you won't be able to claim all the money. I think it's like $20,000 or something like that. But yeah, I've heard that. So in essence, just from the rumors, this is not corroborated. this is what people have said, that it's actually like a haunted house that's a legit straight up torture chamber.
Jesus.
Yeah, it is. It is to the point where they'll actually do things like waterboard. They will put live insects and snakes on you. They'll lock you in confined areas. They will dunk your head underwater for large amounts of time, like to the point where you feel like you're going to drown. And there's even been reports of, if you puke, because they make you eat like some stuff is like rotten eggs, and if you puke, they'll take your vomit and force it back into your mouth.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah, there's some wild shit out there. You gotta wonder what the impulse is that to do the extreme haunt. Like, for example, because in Hell House LLC, the team of individuals, they find a legit, instead of setting up a temple, like here in Texas, we have many haunted houses, and they're all they are not facilities that were previously. They built the facility specifically for the haunt. But this is very similar to the one that we have in Fort Worth. Angela, what's the name of it? It's
Cutting Edge.
Cutting Edge, right?
Cutting Edge.
Yeah. So Cutting Edge Haunted House is actually in an abandoned meatpacking plant, and they over in Fort Worth. And they bought the place out and they turned the whole thing into this one giant haunt. The entire experience lasts about an hour, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a very
cool. In Hell House LLC, they did the exact same thing. They find this old abandoned, it was like almost condemned hotel called like the Hotel Abaddon, because it's in Abaddon, New York.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Abaddon also being the name of like one of the chief, generals of hell or some shit. But that's beside the point. So they take over this place and start renovating it, because they've got like 40 something days to Halloween. And it's a one-night thing, so they let people in. They turn it into this big extreme interactive haunted house with really pushing the limits. And it turns out it's full of fucking ghosts and shit. But that it seems to be that was the trend, that these extreme haunts will take over abandoned places or condemned places that they can basically lease out very, very quickly, use it temporarily. And while I know it adds to the mystique of it, these places can be quite dangerous, which is wild. And it just makes you question, why the draw to such extreme horror? Why push the boundaries there? Is it, to push the boundaries of the imagination, or is it, there's a certain type of person that really gets off on this stuff, which is fascinating to me.
It's something about pushing your limits. And I think with any kind of a hobby, we want to see how far we can go, especially when you have something that hasn't been challenged. Like I was sitting there, I was looking yesterday at, like, they have the Spartan race. And so you have like the 3-mile one that you see a lot of people do. It has like 20 something obstacles. And then they have like a more hardcore one. It's like 8 miles and something like that. And then they have the most hardcore one, which is a 24-hour race. Like it's 24 hours nonstop, 100 something obstacles. It traverses like 50 plus miles. Not 50, I think it's like 30 miles, something like that. And people sign up for that, and only a handful of people even complete it. But we want to know how far could we go? If we were in that situation, how would we actually respond? And the only way to know is to actually be in it.
Well, and it's the same thing with even like reality TV shows now. I mean, there was Survivor, but now there's like Naked and Afraid. Now there's Alone in the Arctic, where you know, have like 10 items and you're up where it gets negative 40 degrees and you're just trying to outlast everybody else in this extreme kind of environment. So I don't know. Everybody's just ready to push and see, you know, what their limit really is.
So we could say it's kind of like a form of escalation, like, you know, like shock rock, because you know back in the day Elvis Presley was shock rock, and then you know eventually you get someone like you know Kiss with shock rock, then you know Ozzy Osbourne, then eventually you've got Rob Zombie, then Marilyn Manson, and you know it just keeps going and going. I think someone's going to get mad at me because I left Gwar out of there, but yeah, you get you know the rockers get more and more extreme. So a natural evolution. As we get numb to the old stuff, it's time to ramp it up.
You know, I think it is, and plus on top of that, you're guaranteed, no matter how horrific the experience is, you're guaranteed an experience that you're going to remember. You're going to take those stories with you for the rest of your life, and I think people are looking for something like that, whether it's good or bad. It's a story you tell on your deathbed.
Right, right. Because I feel like
it's interesting because, you know, I think it was pretty cool because Hell House LLC is a found footage film, but it's found footage from the actually I would say it's a combination of found footage and actual like shot film, because some of it takes place outside of it. There's a framing narrative, which is the investigation that takes place after the events of the haunted house. Then there's the found footage part, which is them going in and documenting the setup of the haunted house, and then the little security cameras that they have everywhere that allow them to watch in kind of like infrared to make sure, you know, the customers are all, you know, they're safe and everybody's taken care of and there's no accidents. So we get a combination of all of this footage. And it's a very very decent story. The acting is pretty solid. And I thought a good open and close deal. It has it wasn't really a twist that you would be surprised by at the end. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I could kind of expect that. Well shot, well done, well, you know, the cinematography is pretty strong on it. But this turned into a trilogy, which I thought was interesting, because we've talked a lot about found footage on this channel before, and it's really hit or miss.
Right.
We've said it many times, and you know, the certain little things that are necessary. Now, this first one, Hell House LLC, did really have that, because one of my favorite parts of it was you'd be looking through the camera and the camera would pick up things that the people who are people who are looking at the camera obviously don't see. So like it'll pass by really quick and you'll see somebody standing there, or you'll see like, you know, one of the mannequins, one of the evil clown mannequins they've used have come to like they've moved positions, and you as the audience, you notice it, but you know, everyone else doesn't. And it's minimalist stuff like that that really makes found footage work.
Right. And I mean, JL knows that I'm not a huge fan of found footage movies. I'm just not. I don't really like them. But Hell House, I don't mind. Like, I actually think it was really well done. And even though it is a found footage, which I'm not usually a fan of, I did really enjoy this movie. So
yeah, because it seems like we've been getting a lot of found footage lately. Maybe it's the time of year that found footage films come out. But you're right. The thing about found footage, when it's done well, it has this like realness that traditional narrative doesn't have. Like that's, we take movies like say Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch. Why are they so scary? Because they feel real. And it's hard. With a lot of found footage films, it's hard to carry that through, because once again, you always got to explain why there's a camera. And I think with Hell House, doing it the way they did it, where they're reviewing footage after like the incident happened, is better, because it's kind of the same thing with Blair Witch, except you actually have some traditional shots where they interview people. But it wasn't bad.
It wasn't. It was a fairly decent film, and I don't think it ranks up there with like, you know, Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity or even the first Grave Encounters, of which I'm a particularly big fan of, because Grave Encounters turned the paranormal investigation. That's the reason they have the cameras, is they're actually trying to capture evidence of the paranormal. But for the premise, of, we're setting it, it's a traveling Halloween show, and we're looking for a space. This is what we do, and this is the footage from the cameras. It's actually pretty sound. It's very similar to another Halloween film, The Houses October Built,
right?
Which is very, very similar. And I wouldn't say they're very much alike, but where instead of the cameras following the people, because in this one in Hell House, the cameras were following the people setting up the haunt, whereas in The Houses October Built, that was the customers documenting themselves looking for the extreme haunt. So, any ways you could fit it in there. And they did make it into a trilogy. There's a Hell House 2 and a Hell House 3. I have not yet seen Hell House 3 yet. It's actually on my watch list. I just got done watching Hell House 2. Once again, it felt real good found footage is lightning in a bottle. And if you don't... it's very hard to capture it the second time, and I don't think it did. So I thought that the trilogy was a little forced. That there's a story there, you could expand it, but wasn't really necessary.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the second or the third one yet, and I felt like with a lot of sequels, they're cash grabs. Like sequels already right off the bat. Yeah, obviously there are good sequels out there, but sequels right off the bat, I'm kind of like. Does it really need one? Can it really be a one and done and then move on? But some people ride off of that.
Did they do found footage for 2 and 3 also? Did they do found footage for Hell House 2 and 3 also?
Yeah, both of those were done in the same vein. It pretty much the next two flesh out the history of the house and the history of what the people that were there, or the flesh out the history of the hotel and what the people who were there before were trying to do by opening up a portal to hell. And the storyline's okay. I mean, it's pretty boilerplate. But yeah, I just felt it's kind of unnecessary. It's kind of like, hey, the first one was successful, let's keep it running and let's keep going and try and milk it for what we can. And I always feel it's a shame when a decent film idea gets a little bit of traction, makes a little bit of money, and then we just got to rip out of it as much as we can, or get as much cash out of it as we can. But that's just the nature of the business. And there are some people who will really, really dig it. If they're really, really big fans of found footage, they'd really dig all 3 films. But I highly recommend Hell House LLC. It's a decent little one, made all the better because the acting is pretty solid. All the cast. The cast felt like a group that does this, that works together constantly and knows each other very well. So I thought it was a pretty impressively well done film for what it was trying to do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, let's give it to the audience. Do you guys enjoy haunted house? What's your favorite haunted house you've ever been to? Let us know.
Definitely let us know in the comments below, or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com. We'll save them up and we'll give them to Alex when he gets back.
Aww.
Yes.
It'll make him feel happy.
Such a sweet present. All right, Eugene, what do we have up next?
All right, speaking of sequels, diving into a big franchise. Released November 1st, 1985, we have Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
All right.
Directed, Freddy's Revenge, he comes back. And it was directed by Jack Shoulder, and it was based on characters created by the great Wes Craven, of course. And then it stars Mark Patton, Kim Myers, Robert Rolser, Hope Lang, and of course, Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, the man.
The man, the myth, the legend himself. And so basically it picks up a couple years right after the events of the first film, where you have the family that actually move into the home of where Nancy used to live, and they begin to get terrorized by, of course, Freddy Krueger.
This was an interesting one. I'm actually a fan, very similar to being a fan of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Freddy's Revenge felt like a really strong departure from the Nightmare series, and that's why I don't think it sat well with a lot of audiences. And it's also why we saw a hard turn back to what made the first one really, really good in the same kind of choices. They just ramped it up in Dream Warriors. But I think there's a special place for Nightmare 2, because this film is an example of a director and a production company willing to take risks and do something unexpected, which I really, really, really dug in this one. It takes you by surprise. The reason the film doesn't sit so well with a lot of people, and I don't think it's because they don't like it. I don't think, and it's definitely not because it's a bad film. It's actually a very good film. It expands upon Freddy's backstory and it has some top-notch special effects that go into this to really, making him the scary figure that he is. The coming out of the body scene when he's cutting his way out of Jesse, when he's cutting his way out of Jesse's body.
Yeah.
With the blades come out of the hand and everything. That's a sick ass scene. When he comes through when he interrupts the pool party and
just goes crazy.
It's just such a brilliant scene. I remember seeing this when I was a kid, and that whole Freddy jumping through the glass and then just vanishing.
Oh yes.
That just got me. So there was some really, really impressive stuff in this one, and I don't think it gets the love it deserves, outside of people who are hardcore fans of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, because there were really, really risky choices in what they did here in the portrayal of the protagonist. Obviously, we're alluding to the homoerotic overtones and the subject material of it. There were things that put people off, because this was 1985, and some of the themes and some of the depictions of the male figures in this film really kind of put people off. But that's the mark of really, really excellent directorial work, and the fact that the actors were willing to go there and portray that story just makes it all the better. It really, really was good. Every director should be able to jump in there and do that.
Yeah, this was something I remember seeing it when I saw it when I was young, and then seeing it again being older. Definitely picked up on some things, because when I watched this as a kid, a lot of, like, say, the homoerotic stuff you didn't really pick up on as much, just being young. And then going back, I was like, there's a lot of man ass in this film.
Oh, I did not realize that.
That's a good amount.
Hello. Well, looky there.
Or like when the coach catches him in the gay bar.
Yeah.
And then forces him to go and run laps at school. Like, it's like in the middle of the fucking night.
So it is. I feel like with this one, that this is probably the most polarizing one. It's one where you either probably like it or you hate it, which is usually a sign of a lot of risky films in it. It's kind of like the risk payoff. You're right in terms of the visual effects. The visual effects in it are amazing, where Freddy Krueger tears the skin off his head and you see his brain like pulsating.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just great effects like that in it. It definitely, the first one is great with effects. This takes it up a notch, which is really hard to do.
Now, do you think that they were just doing that to try and top the first one? Do you think some of those risky choices were just because they were like, how much more can we do?
Maybe on it, maybe at least in terms of the kill wise, at least maintain that same quality, because the first one has.
Oh yeah, the first one. Oh my goodness.
Has so many great. And actually, not a lot of people die in the first one, but a lot of those kills are memorable. That's that one thing about that film, because I think it's only like 5 people die in it or something like that. 5 or 6 people die total in it, but each one counts.
I think in this one, it was the pool scene, the pool scene where he busts through after kissing Lisa. I think it was after kissing Lisa in the cabana. That whole pool breakdown scene was just magnificent. I thought it was brilliant. And just, the one dude just trying to like talk to Freddy and be like, "Hey man, it's all cool." He's like, "Yeah, you're fucking dead." And so, the dude looks like that, and he's got this fucking massive bladed glove in his hand. Yeah, you're not talking this cat down. He's here to party. So, but it was the pool scene and the body transformation scene that always got me, because that was so brilliantly done. As far as I think that goes up there, because this is 1985. This goes up there with the face pressing through the wall, gag, or the upside down, the bed spewing blood, spewing like 100 gallons of blood in the air. So really, really good stuff. I really, really loved that. We've always been able to depend on we were able to depend on the Nightmare series for always giving us really, really interesting special effects and interesting choices in the effects that they utilized. Really, really good. And I think in some ways, with both the choices of the director, the choices of the actors, the way the storyline played out, and some of the very cool special effects, I think that this one actually may have been better than the first film.
Ooh.
I think in some ways it was, just because, I do like the fact that it did take those risky choices, and it just kind of like touched on some things that you didn't realize when you were younger, but you rewatch it when you're older and you're like, oh.
So with Nightmare on Elm Street, first of all, Nightmare on Elm Street it's one of the best franchises in terms of even consistency throughout, because the first one's great. I do enjoy this one. I definitely enjoy some parts of this one, and then he comes back with Dream Warriors, and Dream Warriors is amazing on it. Mm-hmm. But anytime you get a major iconic serial killer in a party where he can just go crazy, he pops out of a deck and just starts slashing people left and right, I'm going to enjoy it. I just am. I'm going to enjoy it.
That's what I like to see.
And a fantastic thing about Freddy being the fact, because of who he is, you get some of the most creative kills. You get some of the most creative special effects behind it, because you can have Freddy and all of a sudden the pool catches on fire.
Yes.
And we're just like, yeah, I can believe that. Like, sure.
We're doing this now. Yeah. Okay.
I thoroughly dug it. They Shoulder took what worked in the first film, expanded upon it, took it in an interesting direction, and challenged the audience as well as entertained them. And this is a horror film. This is Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger disturbs people. Freddy Krueger is both disgusting and terrifying. And Freddy Krueger makes you, fear closing your eyes and going to sleep. And he disturbs the status quo. And throwing something in somebody's face that unsettles them. That is the purpose of horror. That is the mark of a successful horror film. And, so you can agree or disagree that utilizing the homosexual undertones, or the homoerotic undertones to kind of sell that point, it left the viewers off kilter, which was really, really brilliant, because it doesn't play into the overall story. The overall story is Freddy's trying to kind of fight his way back into reality, and he's using Jesse's fear to do that by kind of using his body as kind of like a portal to get back into the world. And that's pretty much it. And then of course, love powers, love conquers all, and his love for Jesse's love for Lisa. It was Lisa, right? I got so many fucking names in my head.
I think it was Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Jesse's love for Lisa, Lisa's love for him will overpower Freddy, and he goes up in a ball of flame. But that's a pretty boilerplate story. So let's keep the audience off kilter. Let's keep them, anxious. Let's show them things that may make them squirm, that don't have anything to do with the story. Brilliant setup right there. I think the director saw it. He saw what the story was and said, I know a way to twist this to make the audiences really, really squirm. It has nothing to do with the villain in the film. So really, really good. I honestly ahead of its time. It did not fare well at the theaters, and was almost the death of the franchise until I believe Wes Craven came back and kind of salvaged it with Dream Warriors.
And sometimes that happens when you have films that are ahead of their time, is the audiences at that time don't understand it. Because you can watch a film today and be like, oh, with the homoerotic stuff, you just be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like this, it's no big deal. It's like, oh, this is just the way this character is. Cool. But you're thinking, what, 35 years ago?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Just a completely different time, a different generation going to the theaters at that time. People who grew up in the 40s and 50s, 60s, something like that, you can see how people would be uncomfortable by that. But the thing is it's still, to me, it's still memorable. And when you have a franchise that's had so many movies come out, and I remember you're like, hey, the script is up. We're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I instantly remembered it, like just right off the bat. So the film stays. The film has staying power and is one that actually stands out in the franchise. So, but this is actually what I want to ask the audience. Do you think that Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, was ahead of its time? Is it something that maybe would have done well in theaters today versus 1985? Let us know in the comments below, or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
I'll do it for you.
Remember, Alex is lonely. We have to make sure he feels included.
Alex, comment.
Yes. All right, Jail, what do we got next?
All right, particular favorite of mine because it comes from one of my favorite directors. This one released November 4th, 1988. Oof, I was 8 years old. We have John Carpenter's John Carpenter's They Live.
I just like to say that Alex wasn't born yet.
Yes, Alex was not born yet.
Oh my God.
2 years before he was born.
Oh, he's a 90s baby?
Yes, he is.
Ah.
So, John Carpenter's They Live, directed by John Carpenter, and directed by John Carpenter, the screenplay by John Carpenter as well, based upon 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson, starring Roddy Piper, Keith David, and Meg Foster, and a slew of really, really gooey aliens. So, a fantastic little piece. John Carpenter never fails to surprise with some of the stories that he either adapts or comes up with. But They Live follows a drifter named George Nada, played by Roddy Piper, who is just kind of drifting through life looking for work and stumbles upon on the streets of LA, and then stumbles upon a mass conspiracy of aliens that have invaded Earth and are using broadcast signals to keep everyone dumb and kind of subjugated to, enslaved to money and to sleep and not realizing what's going on, just being consumers and allowing them to basically take over the Earth. But there is a resistance, and George Nada comes across this resistance and discovers a pair of sunglasses that allows him to see everything as it truly is. And it is wild.
Yeah, it is.
So a fantastic, fantastic film. Super, super fun. And probably has one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in any film. Roddy Piper versus Keith David.
So wonderfully realistic.
They kick the shit out of each other with. It's so amazing and so realistic too. There's no kung fu shit in here. There's just two dudes who are like big and strong throwing down in an alley, and it is fucking hilarious. It's hilarious and painful to watch.
Right. I mean,
because those who know, Roddy Piper was a professional wrestler, so he can take hits. So,
I loved the fact that he hit the dude's car and he was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." And they're in the middle of this extreme fight and he accidentally breaks that window and he's like, "Oh man, I didn't mean to, man."
For those who don't know, the alley brawl lasts almost 6 minutes.
It was so amazing.
Because this is them just straight up taking hits, just brutal to watch.
Just
they're
taking
getting
damage,
dirty.
man.
Yeah, it's like they're in the dirt, and because it's an alley, so they're rolling on the ground, and it's just two big men just straight up slugging it out, which is something that you actually don't see very often.
No, it was no art, no style at all. Just a bunch of slamming each other around, and some great comedic moments. Like Angela said, when he picks up the pipe and he's trying to beat him, and he actually smashes the back window of Keith David's car, and he drops the pipe. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, dude!" And Keith David freaks out and tackles it. It's so funny.
Well,
and of course,
and then
Roddy
he
Piper throws some wrestling moves on him, and
then he smashes a beer bottle, and the bottle just shatters. He's like, "God damn it!" I can't even use this as a weapon.
And it's so amazing because the whole fight could have been avoided if Keith David had just put the sunglasses on, because that was the point.
That was it.
Piper is trying to convince him to put these damn sunglasses on and see what he sees. He's like, "No, I won't do it. I'm going to kick your ass and make you wear these damn sunglasses." And then we get a near 6-minute brawl over wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. And in the end,
just please put them on. Just please.
I mean, in the end, he puts them on.
a super, super fun film, but it made me think. So, given this year that we are in, 2020,
the year that will be removed from all history books.
Yes, everything is just nuts. And if you go onto YouTube, it's just more nuts and more nuts. But this movie made me think, because this came out in '88. This movie made me think of alien conspiracies today. People like David Icke, who believes, the reptilians and stuff like that, the reptoids, the Queen of England is a reptoid or some shit.
Oh, that's right.
But alien conspiracies today. And it made me wonder if a film like this, because we watch it for nostalgic reasons. We look back, it's like, oh, this was amazing when it came out. This was late 80s. It was solid action, had some good one-liners. I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And just has some great, immortal moments in this movie. But I don't know if a film like this would work today, simply because our mentalities with it. Obviously, in '88 they did not have the internet. The internet changed everything, and the way people digest their media, the way craziness like this can get out to people, mass media, has kind of, I would say, desensitized people to this kind of storyline, so it wouldn't have really, really hit people. Nowadays I don't think it would, so because our mentalities have changed so much.
Right.
I actually disagree. I think something like this could absolutely hit because we've had so much exposure to the internet and the craziness that is on the internet. You're talking about going to YouTube and finding like a black hole of you don't know where you're going to end up. I think a movie like this would actually totally work.
I mean,
I think it is. I mean, if you have all these conspiracy theorists, such as I know your favorite Flat Earth, that is that conspiracy is alive and well on the internet. Why not another alien conspiracy?
Well, I mean, and also with all of the sightings of, UFOs over airports and all that kind of stuff, yeah, you know what? I think a movie could work if it were done in this time period, like instead of in the 80s, because you have access to, hey, oh my gosh, well, I saw this one, and there's a UFO over, in China, there's one in Chicago, there's, and they can connect the dots, which makes conspiracy theorists grab onto it even more so, because they see all of these other places that are like, oh, so it's not just here, it's over here. So what all connects it? Oh my gosh, it must be the alien overlords. I think that it could definitely work.
You know what I'm probably picking up on? I'm probably picking up on the lack of oral tradition, because the internet has pretty much ended oral tradition. There's a record of anything you put on the internet. Any story you tell is going to be on there. And without that kind of, telephone game that we used to play way before the internet, where people would tell stories and the fish would get larger and larger and larger, and the light in the sky became, bigger and brighter and changed colors, and all of a sudden there's aliens involved. And that just doesn't exist anymore. So I think that's what I may have been picking up on. Because nowadays, whenever we get alien movies, it's always about our interactions with the aliens. It's like, so there's no grand conspiracy, but there are aliens out there, then they show up, and then obviously, humans usually act like assholes. But in this way, I can't remember the last time I saw a straight alien invasion. They were, I think The Arrival, 1996, directed by David Twohy, starring Charlie Sheen, The Arrival. That was about aliens that were already here as well, and they were trying to terraform the Earth by using global warming. Global warming was their tool to terraform the Earth to the way they wanted to live and eventually kill us all off. Whereas in this one, it just seems to be control. Like maybe they just wanted to come here and just live here and be our overlords or some shit. There's no real, I guess, motive for why they're here.
Well, if I remember
to not be killed, the motive is to subjugate yourself, to basically become a slave to capitalism and become a slave to the dollar and stuff like that.
Wasn't this like
ignore it?
Wasn't Earth
and you'll reap the rewards? Wasn't
Earth like their third planet or whatever that they had taken over?
I think so. It was like this kind of because they have like an airport set up, which where they could teleport between different worlds. And so, like, Earth was just one more stop. So they basically, like, take it over and utilize its resources for their own kind of, personal agenda, where all the humans, instead of just eradicating them all, just make them all slaves. Make them all slaves to their pleasures, to their desires, keep them fighting for that next dollar. Cause like, when he puts the sunglasses on, he looks at the dollar. It's subliminal messaging everywhere, which is really, really fucking cool. Like, so you look up there and you say, oh, hey, it's the movie theater. And then you put the sunglasses on, it's just a big ass white billboard that just says consume. Or you look at the dollar bill and, dollar bill looks like dollar bill. You put the glasses on and it's just a white piece of paper that just says, this is your God.
Yeah, that would totally work now. The fact that, approval rating of the government is probably at an all-time low right now, and people are criticizing things. I'm not going to get into the whole political part of it, but people are criticizing the way the government has responded to certain things. And then, you pull out a movie where it's like, obey, consume, this is your God. This is, you will be the slave to the dollar. I think a movie like that today would be really successful.
Like Stay Asleep.
Get married and propagate. And
get married and just various stuff like that. It was some of it was kind of biblical. It was really, really weird. Like, go forth and multiply. Like, they've been here a long time. And they've integrated, and they utilizing whatever technology they have in order to kind of blind us. It's really, really strange. But of course it ends hilariously with, Roddy Piper, with George Nada being successful in his mission to stop the broadcast, which results in some of the best shit that could possibly occur. Especially that final scene is so amazing. What's the matter, baby? But that just goes to show the effect of mass media that Carpenter was able to see. Many people were able to see, because you had obviously Aldous Huxley and Kurt Vonnegut and George Orwell were able to see the effects of mass media in literature, and then of course I think Carpenter really, really nailed it in a very satirical way, that how mass media infects our daily lives, and kind of. And I'm not going to say it's sinister, but kind of sneaks in under the radar.
No, it's sinister.
And ingratiates itself to the point that you don't know where you end and it begins. We see that with social media. We see that with any kind of online interaction where it's, the online persona is almost as important as who we are in person. And that kind of control we've seen it, can be utilized against us in varying ways to tell us what to buy, or tell us who to vote for, or tell us, the best way to get somewhere, or the best person to talk to about something. Everything. Instead of just going out and discovering things, there it is. I can't tell you how many times I wake up in the morning and I reach and there's my phone. And I look at my phone when I should be like, waking up, stretch, yawn, get up, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth. I like this. Nope. I wake up, I reach over and I pick up my phone.
Yeah, it's like the first thing you do. You pick up your phone. If you post something on Facebook, you check who commented on it, who liked it, how many likes did I get.
Well, not to mention you get that little
article about
notification.
Yeah. Oh, notification.
Oh, yeah.
Who messaged? Who did this? But I read an interesting article. It was about a journalist, and she decided that she was going to be an Instagram model for 6 months just to see what it was like from just a journalist perspective. And she said that she found posts that didn't do well would cause her to actually spiral into depression. Well, why didn't they like this post? I spent a lot of time crafting this post. What's wrong with me? And after 6 months, she's like, I had to stop. And so she stopped and deleted her account and everything. But to get that, she found herself longing for that gratification.
That's that hit of dopamine.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just get that hit. And the entire, this is a commentary in and of itself. The entire achievement factor in video gaming, the entire achievement system in video games, whether you're playing Xbox or you're playing PlayStation 1, I play World of Warcraft, and you get that ding. You get ding, oh, there's that hit of dopamine.
I have
Ding,
so many
there's a hit of
achievables.
and you just chase that. You chase that hit. You know, we don't have to pump drugs into you. We just have to use your brain against you. You get that notification from Twitter. Boom. I can't tell you, I got a massive spike when we started taking off on Twitter, when people really started following us. I was getting ding, ding, ding of people follow. I was like, oh, it was weird. And I haven't been on Twitter that long. And all of a sudden we start Week in Horror, we throw it on there, and all of a sudden I'm getting these dings that people are following the show, and I'm just kind of like, oh, that's new. And now I'm damn near a slave to Twitter. Although, in my personal opinion, Twitter is cancer. But we have our daily splatter on there. We want to entertain people. We want to let people. We want to give people inspiration to watch a movie they hadn't seen yet. Maybe on the day that it came out. We think that's kind of cool. But yeah, I checked that. That's how terrifying it is. And while there were many authors that recognized this way early on and the effects that it would have on us, I think, and there were movies that were done as well because there were adaptations of these books. I think Carpenter really captured it in the best way possible because oftentimes very serious subject matter goes down better as satire.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think he did a really, really good job. The Apocalypse trilogy will always be my favorite of all Carpenter, but They Live is up there, and I would say just underneath. It's pretty much the Apocalypse trilogy, and then They Live, and then They Live is right underneath that, and then it just keeps kind of going down until we eventually hit like Ghosts of Mars.
That was what I was thinking too. When you're like, and eventually bottoms at Ghosts of Mars.
Actually, I'm gonna reassess. I'm gonna say the Apocalypse trilogy is number 1. Number 2 is Christine, and number 3 is They Live because I love the movie Christine. That movie's amazing. I love Stephen King adaptations, but yeah, that's something I'm very curious. I'd like to ask the audience. Mass media is such a massive part of our lives. It, in essence, is a part of every single choice we make and everything we do. They Live was a comedy, somewhat horror story about the effects about an alien race utilizing mass media against us in order to enslave us. It's a topical point. Do you think that this is that They Live? This came out in 1988? Is it relevant today? Do you think that this is a relevant topic? Do you think that more movies should be made to put this out? Do we think we should see a revival of things like Fahrenheit 451 or A Brave New World? Stuff that really challenges. What was it? Big Brother.
1984.
Fuck. 1984. Fuck yes. Should we have this topic? Should we see maybe a reboot of They Live done in another way? Let us know what you think of the relevance of this topic. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Either, throw a comment down there below the video or shoot us an email, weekinhorror@gmail.com. Or you know what? Get back to us on Discord. Jump in our Discord server. The link is in the description. Join our Discord. You can interact with us right there. And we can go back and forth. Definitely check it out. All right. We have one more on our list for night, and I think Angela's got it. What do we have?
Yes, I do. All right, we're going to talk about Frailty. Came out back in 2001. Directed by Bill Paxton, written by Brent Hanley, starring Bill Paxton, Matthew McConaughey, and Powers Booth. All-star cast, man. This
was Bill Paxton's directorial debut.
Well, he did a great job.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Especially considering he's also starring in it. Like, such a good job. So, basically,
another little bit of tip. This is gonna freak people out because anybody who's seen this movie knows that this is a really, really dark fucking movie. The guy who produced this film wrote An American Tail.
Wow.
You gotta have range.
I mean,
you gotta have range.
Yeah.
I mean, fingers and everything, I guess.
I've noticed that. That's kind of like the guys behind American Horror Story because they also created Glee.
Yeah, that's true.
Which could not be further from American Horror Story. But yeah, continue on. Frailty.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Little bit of pop trivia for our listeners out there.
Know how you like trivia. You know, what is it they have to do in order to win your horror trivia game? Trivial Pursuit.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and you could be as good as me, but not likely.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, circling back to Frailty. So it's about a mysterious man arrives at the offices of an FBI agent, and he recounts his childhood to him, and talks about his religious fanatic father receiving visions telling him to destroy people who were demons. So it goes in a direction that I didn't think it was going to go whenever I first saw this. Now, I first watched Frailty like back when it came out, and I was like, what? And I recently rewatched it, and I was like, man, yeah, this is a great movie. Because you've got the father that's this religious fanatic, and is saying that an angel gave him a list of demons to kill, and it's really just people. But whenever he touches them, he sees their evils, like their wrongdoings that they did and whatnot. And his kids were young at the time, and so he started killing them. But he would it was a family event. He showed the kids and had them bury the bodies, and it was a very dark film.
It definitely was. It's a really, really good film. It was basically a buddy of mine was like, hey, check this out. Shortly after it got released on, VHS back in 2001. And it is amazing because you see a lot of it from the kid's perspective, and it's like hey, Bill Paxton's like, this person's a demon. I'm going to throw him in the barn, and then I'm going to kill him with an axe.
Right, and meanwhile, the older one is just like, nah, you're crazy. And the little one's like, yeah, I totally believe you, Dad.
And what's really awesome about it is throughout the film, it leaves you teetering. Like, is it legit? Is it real? Or is their dad just a serial killer? Because
or
it's
is
not
this
like
something this dude made up? Like, did this actually happen to him? Like...
Exactly. So you're on the edge of your seat, trying to figure out what is going on. Did the kid make it up? Is his dad a serial killer? Is he actually correct? And what is actually going on? But one of the things that's really interesting about this film is that you take Matthew McConaughey and Bill Paxton that are playing opposites of what they normally play, because usually Bill Paxton is the good guy. Right. You're rooting for him in Twister. He works a lot with James Cameron. He's always on he's either the good guy or the innocent guy. I love him in True Lies, and we could talk about Bill Paxton all day on another podcast.
And that could be a podcast in itself. The Bill Paxton podcast.
Where we just gush about Bill Paxton.
Just all the Bill Paxton you can handle.
I seriously could. From Fish Heads all the way up to Lord, what was his last studio? To Big Love, man. Whatever that man did was just gold.
It is amazing. And you see him doing... He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Now he was burying an axe in somebody's head.
And you're like, what? Really? No, Bill Paxton. No, Bill Paxton, don't do that.
No.
it was so creepy to see McConaughey and Paxton in these roles, because the way it strikes out, because we're getting the story from his son Fenton's point of view, and the way it's so expertly crafted, was so well written and expertly acted. The chops of the kids who played his sons. I got to give Matt O'Leary and Jeremy Sumpter were fantastic in those little roles, and as the young kids, and then of course Matthew McConaughey. It probably nowadays he's gone cross type several times. Because we've seen him in Killer Joe, and a smattering of other really really off-putting roles, but this was an early testament to the man's skill, to the person who would play the iconic roles in Dallas Buyers Club that would nab him an Oscar. The level of commitment and dedication they show, you could see bits of that very very early on. This was no all right. This was not that.
No,
by any stretch of the imagination. Magnificent performance of him. Bill Paxton going dark, and because you're watching it and you're kind of like, is he crazy? Is he just, he could have had a seizure, or he could have had a stroke and seen the things that he's talking about. But no, he's like legit, it turns out this is really, really fucking happening. Really. And I think the thing that got me was for a good portion of the film, it blurs the line between what could potentially be mental illness and what could legitimately be divine revelation from God. And how people on the outside of that, when they see it happening, it comes off a particular way. And that, people's faith rarely stands up to someone going on about how the angel came and told me I'd find the special weapons to destroy demons that are disguised as humans on Earth. You sound like a loon. But, we get to see it from both sides. From Paxton's side as the fanatical fundamentalist, and his son Fenton, who is kind of like, yeah, I'm not really buying this. And then the younger brother, Adam. Oh, so brilliant. The younger brother, Adam, who's just like, yeah, I see it, Daddy. I see it, Daddy. And I'm kind of like, for the longest time, you don't know that it's crazy. You don't know what's really going on. Is the father infecting the younger son? Is the older brother just trying to protect his little brother? Such wild stuff.
Well, and also
impeccable performances. I love it when actors play cross type.
And they also did a good job because it was whenever we are looking at them when they're children. Still, this was the summer of 1979, I believe he said. And so, in 1979, in a small town, who's going to believe this kid's story whenever he goes to the town sheriff and is like, "Hey, my dad's killing people in our fucking shed." He's like,
and it was in Texas. It was in Texas too.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, whatever, kid. Just getting the brush off, like what? Whoa. Not really taking it seriously at all. That poor sheriff. Well, you should have taken it seriously.
Yeah,
did not end well.
So wild. It's such a well done film because, as far as it, I love small, well-crafted film. People who know their trade, people who know how to create the atmospheres that they're trying to create. The budget on Frailty was only like $11 million, and it grossed 17.4. So it was a modest success. It did make its money back, and if you ever get a chance, you gotta listen. You gotta look for the interview that Bill Paxton gave when he was talking about how much money he made off this film, and how I think he made like $5 million off this movie, but then after all the costs and expenditures of being an actor, all that money just vanished. I think he walked home with like 600 grand for doing this film. And I love minimal films like that. I don't want to say it's minimalist, but I love smaller films like this that really people get a real feel for people who know how to craft. The film jumps so brilliantly between the sunny summer of Texas, because it's hot outside, but it's beautiful, especially in the area that they're in. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful day. And then switches so hard, but so smoothly into, the kind of darkness around every corner. The things that people in Texas, the kind of like religious conservatives fear hiding around every corner. Creating that kind of mood, creating that atmosphere is very, very difficult and requires an enormous level of training and talent in order to get done. It's not something that you can just pick up on. From the barn to the root cellar, to the outside, to the exterior scenes, to inside the office of the FBI. So well crafted.
And I like how you talked about minimal films. And I'm a huge fan of minimal films too, because you have nothing to hide behind. You don't have a giant space battle that can just entertain the audience, or these monster special effects that you can really, really easily hide behind. When you have a lower budget, indie, minimal film, everything has to be on point. Everything. From
Right.
the cinematography,
Otherwise, it's just
the
gonna be-
performances, the editing, everything has to be on point, or you'll lose your audience.
Yep.
And it's just going to be like so incredibly visible. Like, oh, wow. So they didn't do a good job of that at all.
Yeah.
But whenever it's well done, it's like, damn, that was real good.
Yeah, it's very, very. I mean, this is the exact kind of filmmaking that you make when, I would say, because this was 2001, before the big, before the giant push into CGI and fake, and everything is fake and everything is green screened. This was just classic filmmaking, which is what makes it so good. It's why the actors are so comfortable. There you got your camera, you got your light guys. It's a basic crew. Directors behind the camera. These guys are front. We have this beautiful set that is equally as much as found stuff as it is for your production value. Shooting outside, it's really, really pretty. And then just guys knowing what they do, knowing how to create the scene, how to reflect Bill Paxton's character's dilemma of, his eldest son doesn't see what he sees, but the youngest son does. But I loved how all of it was captured, from the kid's bedroom to the kitchen table, all the way to the FBI office when Matthew McConaughey is doing his best creeper impersonation. Such good stuff. And I love really talented filmmaking, because it often escapes people. Some people, they'll see the story and they go, "Oh yeah, that's why I kind of love having been behind the scenes and seeing how the sausage is made," because then you can really, really admire and respect the work that goes into, the level of craftsmanship that goes into making a film like this.
Yeah, the amount of work, the millions of little decisions that all have to coincide together to work out to make a good film.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's throw it to our listeners. Do you enjoy cross-type acting? Let us know in the comment below. Send Alex some love letters at weekendhorror@gmail.com.
Definitely. And let us know. I'd love to hear, what was your favorite cross-type performance? We're talking stuff like Denzel in Training Day. When they really, really cross the line and do something that you would not expect. I love it when what's one of my favorites, Tom Hanks in Road to Perdition.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's such a good movie.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, getting a chance to see talented actors kind of spread their wings and do other things that you would not anticipate. I love seeing this. So definitely either in the Discord channel, or in the comments below, or send us an email. Let us know, not only do you enjoy it when your favorite actors break away, but do you, which ones are your favorites? We'd love to hear what you think.
All right, Eugene, I think that we have a birthday, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I believe we talked about him last year, but we always got to give him a shout out.
Hell yes, we do.
Personal favorite of ours. He was born November 3rd, 1946. Tom Savini. The man, the myth, the legend.
AKA Sex Machine. I think he was Sex Machine.
I thought he was Sex Machine.
Was he Sex Machine? I hope I got that right. I'm going to get so much hate if I didn't get that right.
Yeah.
Sex Machine.
Sex Machine.
I just looked it up, yes.
You looked it up awesome. To make sure?
Dude, I did. I double checked just to make sure. I'm pretty sure it was Sex Machine with his dick and balls guns. Yeah, it was fucking sweet.
Better not get it wrong.
The dude's amazing. The dude was amazing. Oh, so yes, last year we did wish Tom Savini a happy birthday, and so I think, man, oh man, he's 73 now. He's getting up there, but he's still going strong. I want to kind of take the opportunity. We talked a lot about his past last year. You know, talking his history in the Vietnam War and the inspirations he took from that to become one of the greatest prosthetic makeup effects men in all of horror, if not the industry itself. I wanted to kind of pick everybody's brains. What was your favorite work that Tom Savini did? Like the favorite movie that he worked on?
Ooh, the favorite movie he worked on?
Like, what's your favorite? Like, Tom Savini did the work on it, and it just blew your mind.
He really, I really took notice of him, and I saw it when it came out, we were talking about Sex Machine with Dusk Till Dawn. Like, there's a lot of memorable...
Well, that was a performance, though.
Oh, you want in terms of his makeup work on it.
In terms of his makeup work, yeah.
Oh, makeup work.
I would have to go. Right off the bat. He did makeup work for Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Just straight up right off the bat. So when you got Friday the 13th, he also did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Which
that's right, yeah, he did.
Yeah, which I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Any movie that's too many chainsaws is just amazing.
The one that always stands out now because he's worked extensively with George. He worked extensively with George Romero. He worked on Martin. He worked on Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Monkey Shines, Creepshow. But the number one that he did the special effects and makeup for was fucking Maniac.
I knew you were going to say Maniac too.
The shit that man came up with. The whole scene when he jumps up on the car and shoots the driver in the face with the shotgun, and it was Tom Savini's head because Tom Savini, he was the makeup guy, but he got a small part in it. He got to play the boyfriend because he happened to have a prosthetic head of himself, a prosthetic head cast of himself.
Because why not?
We need a fake head. Here's a fake head. Oh, it looks like Tom Savini. Oh, hey. Why don't you be the boyfriend? Because we need to blow your head off. He's like, oh, the damn straight. And he jumps up there and he does the shooting himself. He shoots himself. He shoots his own prosthetic head in the face with a shotgun. Explodes everywhere. And then they have to quickly, throw the gun in the trunk of a passing car so that they don't get called, don't get caught by the cops because there was no licenses whatsoever on that movie. But yes, the work that he did in Maniac, for as brutal as that film was, the scalping scenes, the shotgun in the face scene, all that stuff was absolutely insane and just brilliantly done. Because I think it was 1980, it was the year I was born, it's 40 years ago, and the stuff he pulled off in that, absolutely terrifying.
I guess I didn't realize that was him.
Oh,
what do you think, Angela?
Yeah, no, fuck. I would normally say Creepshow, because Creepshow, man, such good work.
His stuff in Creepshow was fantastic.
It's really all I need to say, right? Creepshow.
You gotta wonder because he worked on Friday the 13th. Parts 1 and 4, he worked on those, but he was on the first one. He also worked on The Burning.
I was just about to bring that up because we've compared Friday the 13th to The Burnings.
Yeah.
Both being slasher films that take place out in the woods. And
out at a summer camp with a disfigured killer that hides his face and kills him with various instruments that you find everywhere. And typically it's a revenge story because the killer's coming back to revenge the people that set him on fire and burned his face in The Burning. But the fucked up thing was because we talked about how The Burning, they came up with the idea before Friday the 13th, but Friday the 13th managed to release before The Burning did, which really hurt The Burning at the box office. Despite the fact that it was a pretty decent movie. It had a young Holly Hunter in it. But yeah, he worked on both. So that's gotta be wild.
That is. Like you said, that's crazy. And also, that's why it pays to be first. You don't have to be the first one with the idea. You gotta be the first one to release it.
Unless you're the guy doing the makeup and special effects, then you can be involved in all.
I think you're in both.
Yeah, it's true.
It doesn't matter at that point.
Hey, you need a makeup person? Hey.
He's such an amazing freaking dude. I love seeing it every time his work pops up, and he loves his job so much. Whenever he talks about the stories he has to tell, the probably millions of stories he has from being in the industry as long as he has, and everybody, if you haven't gotten the opportunity, and some people, some hardcore horror fans consider it sacrilege that it should never have been remade, but Tom Savini did direct the remake of Romero's Night of the Living Dead. He did it with Romero's blessing. Romero said, go for it. That's the one that he cast Tony Todd in the lead role of that. So give that one a look. It's Tom Savini's birthday here on November 3rd. Go back and look at his one of his big directing opportunities was to direct the Night of the Living Dead remake. That came out in 1990. It was actually really, really good. A very faithful remake with the Tom Savini kind of, attitude to it. So definitely want to show some love to one of the best makeup and effects guys who have ever lived. Happy birthday to Tom Savini.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Birthday, Tom.
All right. Well, that closes out another episode of Week in Horror. Man, we want to thank our listeners for coming out and listening to us. We love you guys. We could not do this without your constant support. If you want to check in with us, check out weekinhorror.net, where we have links to all of our episodes. And of course, if you throw your email address down onto our mailing list, you can get entered in for your mystery shirt, your horror mystery shirt. We give one
cool
away
shirt. Just saying.
We give one away. We give one away every single month. So get your name on that list so we can maybe get you some horror swag. And you'll find the information about our current giveaway with the Trivial Pursuit Horror Edition up there on the website here shortly. And of course, links to everything. You can check out our bios. You can get links to wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, links to YouTube. Or you can follow us there. As always, we want your feedback, your comments, your questions, your criticisms, your love letters for Alex. We want them all. So be sure to send them to weekinhorror@gmail.com. You can get our daily splatter at Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/weekinhorror and at weekinhorror. You get a little bit of horror knowledge every single day coming straight to you in your feed. Something you may not have known, maybe a movie recommendation of something you haven't seen yet. So definitely jump on those. You can follow us on YouTube as well, because we have a YouTube channel now. Thanks to Eugene. He got that all set up for us. And every Wednesday we drop our week's episode. And like, subscribe, and comment on this one when it drops on the 4th, and you will be entered to get the Trivial Pursuit Ultimate Horror Edition. You will get that, or you could get a chance to win that. And as always, if you truly love what we do here at this podcast, listening is the best thing you can. Listening and sharing, we love it. But if you'd like to go a step further, if you're able to, times are tough, we know that. If you are able to support the show, www.patreon.com/weekinhorror. You can help support the show and make a better show. You could be a horror fanatic and really, really help us out. You can get early access to our Bloodbath debates and our After Dark sessions with our special industry guests. You can also get free horror movies every single month. We have a tier wheel out for that. You can support us for as low as $1 a month. You can help out making this show all the better, bring us more original and better content to you every single week and every single month. We love you guys, but if you're not able to, it is okay. We love the fact that you tune in and listen. We couldn't do it without you. So, as always, I'm JL.
I'm Eugene.
And I'm Angela.
And we'll see you next time. And as always, stay scared.